Matt, Kyle, Sports Report Media. You did the interview with Robbie after the game. Very emotional with Robbie there. What does this win mean to past players, former players, and including yourself being a player to get to the Final Four?
Yeah, he was watering up when I got up there. That was hard. More than anything, like, you appreciate the guys that have played for you, and you appreciate that they had opportunities to go other places, and they chose your school or they chose you, however you want to look at it. But we weren't very good when that class chose us. Our facilities were just okay. That's being nice. And we've really done a great job in, the last 15 years of upgrading what we have. But when someone, signs at your school and they have a lot of options like E'Twaun Moore, Juwan Johnson, and Robbie Hummel, and you got last place in the Big Ten and you're 35, 36 years old and you really I hadn't done anything. And so for our ability to get those guys, and they believed in us, and we obviously got close, and, got the Sweet 16, but we didn't get further. And, in their career, we won the league once and got second 3 times. He had 2 major injuries. And so his battle, he should have played in the NBA for 8 to 10 years, but because of his injuries and everything, he didn't. And he was smart because now, he's, at the top of his game and what he does. I think everybody in this room would agree with that. And but it just means a lot to a lot of people. But for someone like that, they deserved it. You have guilt. There's no doubt about that. You have guilt because Gene Katie deserved to coach in a Final Four, and he deserved to play in one. And then you're getting ready to go to one, right? And so, I just appreciate what, he did for us, and what E'Twaun Moore and Juwan Johnson. We had 2 guys that were here that were all conference. And when you take a job, if you got some people that are already there to get started, it really helps you. And that was David Teague and Carl Landry. And both of those guys were all conference players, but we had to sign people behind them. And that was the class that really got us going. So just appreciative of everything that Rob's done for our program.
Third row here on the right side, Brennan. Yeah.
Brennan Quinn with The Athletic. Matt, can you describe how difficult it is to create teams that are as tactically sound as yours, just limiting turnovers, the offense you run, the high-level stuff you guys do, but then also a group that is diving on the floor, taking elbows,
Right.
can match toughness with Tennessee. Just that combination, how hard is that to craft?
Right. Yeah, I thought when we struggled about 10 years ago, everybody talks about doing a better job recruiting, and I thought we had to do a better job evaluating, because I would watch Belmont and I would watch Davidson and I'd watch guys at a mid-major level, and the best players at those places can play anywhere. And now you're starting to see it with the portal, right? Mark Sears, didn't start at Ohio his freshman year. Now he was behind an NBA player in Jason Preston, but still he didn't start his freshman year there. And now look at him, right? So there's great players everywhere. So I want to get Mark Sears out of high school, right? Because he had mid-major offers. And, Steve Lutz, who's the head coach at Western Kentucky, was the one that recruited Zach Edey. Micah Shrewsbury is the one that recruited Fletcher Lawyer. And so, I'm appreciative of those guys and what they did for our program, and they helped us. And I could go on and on about, our current assistants and the things they've done, and Brandon Brantley and Paul Lusk and Terry Johnson, and P.J. Thompson's going to be an absolute star in this profession, Sasha Stefanovic, and then I have 2 GAs and Jared Wolburn and Tommy Luce that are former players. So we got a good group of guys. We got younger guys that can relate to them. But, we're very systematic. And so we're systematic, and we evolve with our system, if that makes any sense. We evolve towards the strengths of our best players. So I always talk about it. I probably talked about it the other day. But I think it's a big fallacy in recruiting, because everybody wants to play shortstop and lead off. But you got one shortstop, and if Cal Ripken's there, he's probably not going to get moved. And so guys just don't grasp. They want roles, but I want players that just want to win. I want guys that can fit into those roles and understand that. Now you got to have your horses right. You can't have 8 guys that are 8 role players. You got to have Carson Edwards. You got to have Caleb Swanigan. You got to have Zach Edey. You got to have Braden Smith being a maestro out there. Now, when you piece those other guys together, you're systematic, and a lot of people don't give us credit. We really try to push the basketball. Now, some great teams stop us from doing that, and then it doesn't look that way at times. But if you let us go or you turn it over or you take bad shots, we really try to push. So it's that balance of it. But, we've been able to get elite big guys. And if you can get a good point guard and get someone who can run the team like we have, and you got elite big guys, if you can put skill and competitive spirit together, those two qualities together is magic, man. Guys that'll lay it on the line, guys that'll dive on the floor. We started recruiting Mason Gillis, and he played. It's hard to sometimes when they play center. Mason Gillis played center in high school, but I go and watch him warm up, and I'm like, man, he can shoot. But yet his numbers don't show that he's taking a lot of threes. Well, he's just doing what's best for his high school team. And so I'm like, man, he's going to be a good college player. Like when I saw Fletcher Lawyer and how competitive he was, he's got heavy feet, but the ball goes in and he's competitive. Yeah, coming from someone who's got heavier feet. But those guys win the day, man. They care, and that's what Lance has been able to do for us. Lance has a good competitive spirit. He has a good way about him, and I want to have fun. Like I don't want to get stuck in an airport, with guys I don't want to be around. Like I get to choose. It's not a school district. I get to pick. Like I want to have fun, and that's selfish, but I could care less. And so, I just did a bad job, and I think we all fall into the trap of looking at talent instead of looking at talented people that are productive. The production's what we go on, right? Like you're like, hey, man, this guy can jump over the moon and do a whirly-bird 360, but he gets 2 rebounds. Like, well, who cares then? How many breakaways you going to get, right? You got to get guys. That's why if you look at UConn and look at those guys on their team, man, they are competitive and they're nasty and they can guard, and what they're all about. They're all about winning, and he's done a great job instilling that. But I bet if you went and talked to him, they would talk about, they were that way before. He's just enhanced that stuff and been able to get it, and that's what you get. Like you can learn from a lot of other people, but you damn sure better learn from your own mistakes, and I think that's what we've been able to do.
Take one last one on the right side here, and then we'll pick.
All right, Deion Cash, SC Live 365. Coach, congratulations. 2 parts real quick. Ross-Ade seems like he's got a little bit of a streak now. He's matured a lot. Talk about that. And 5 minutes left in the game. What did you tell him, Coach?
Yeah. Zach's got a competitive, fight to him, and he doesn't back down. And, when you have that elite physical size and you have that competitive spirit with it, with some skill, it's pretty dangerous. He's pretty hard to handle. We had some guys on fumes, I thought. I thought both teams had some guys on fumes. And we just had to dig deep, take care of the basketball, and just told them, hey, it's right here for us. This is what we've worked towards. We've put it in position. Trust the process. Take your shots when they're there. Big fella's going to get the right of first refusal. We made sure they understood that. He doesn't have to shoot it, but he's got to touch it. And, put them in that bind. Make them handle all that. He's going to pass if somebody's open, but we have a rule. You want to double him, you want to mess with him, he's going to pass the ball, he's going to dig deeper. But if he stays one-on-one, his rule is to score the ball.
Left side, first row, Coach.
Coach, a big talking point in college basketball has been the 10-0 run or the kill shot. That's something that your team has kind of struggled with the past couple of years. But this year, it seems like every game there's been one. There was a 13-0 run this year, or this game. Can you talk about how that's kind of changed, or what's changed about the team that has led to that?
Yeah, we've played more offensive guys. We have more skill that is out there. And so I thought a big part of the game was when they went up 32-21, if I have the numbers right. And then we went on a run right then. We were very vulnerable at that point. But we had 25 minutes to play. We had a long game. And for us to be up after being down 11, I thought was a great sign for us. But a lot of people feed off of makes, right? So you get guys that go 5 for 6 from 3, they'll defend better and rebound better because they're 5 for 6. But will they defend and rebound when they're 0 for 6? That's always a telltale for a championship team. And today, we're 3 for 15 from 3. We shoot 64%, a little under 64% from the free throw line. And I didn't think it affected anything, even though I thought we had some glaring mistakes with Dalton Connect. When the ball got loose or rebounds happened, you got to go to him. You can't get separated from him at times. Now, he made some tough ones when we did do what we're supposed to, but we gave him a handful of looks, and we were fortunate. At the end, he had a couple of really good looks that didn't go down. We were very fortunate, but just staying with it, and runs are a big part of the game, right? Obviously when they go against you, it can be the difference. But if you can get those good runs, if you can get 2 quality runs, and you have a good team and you have good talent, you're normally going to win that game.
Thanks, Coach. We'll have 2 in the second row here on the left side.
Yeah, Israel Schumann from the Purdue Exponent. Matt, you've talked about being grimy when you guys don't shoot well. Was this the essence of a performance like that today?
Yeah, our ability to rebound it ends up being the difference, right? We had 10 turnovers, they had 7, but out-rebounded by 20. In my opinion, ends up being the difference. But yeah, you have to grind. I said it after the Gonzaga game. I go, we made shots, and we really separated ourselves in that second half. But if we don't make the shots, how does this game, end up? And that's, obviously you don't want that to happen, right? You want to go 10 for 15 from 3 and shoot 80% from the line. And but that's the game of basketball. The ball doesn't always go in. That's going to be a guarantee. It's why people always say defense and rebounding travel, because you can be constant in those areas. And, I thought that rebounding piece for us was the difference.
Fourth row on the left side. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there was a second one.
Josh George, fan-sided. Matt, Dalton Connect, you talked about him a little bit. He took 31 shots. Was it part of your plan to make them one-dimensional? Because that's certainly what happened, taking away kind of the role players. And he went off, but it was still a great defensive performance.
Yeah, no, not really. We wanted to get up and jam the basketball to start, and so that's why we had Lance on him. Then at dead balls, Lance would go on him. I just didn't think our attention to detail was great, but I think it's smart on their part. Someone got a hot hand and go to him. Why not? If you had to pick someone off their team that you want to get shots for, he'd be the one. And then when you look back on things, you're like, well, this guy took the most shots. This guy took the most shots. They needed a little bit more balance. But at the end of the day, if what you're doing is working, why not stay with it? So I thought it made a lot of sense just to stay with him and keep going. But I do understand your point, because we get that way with Zach. We want that balance. But we also know if he's got the advantage. We had a couple drives in the game where it's just like, you're going nowhere. There's nothing wrong when people fly at you and stop your 3 to now put the ball on the deck, and because we were able to drive and get some layups. But then at times when it doesn't work for you, you wonder why Zach didn't get the ball. So they have to feel the same way about him.
Fourth row on the left.
Bob Kravitz, Indy Monthly. When you got to the top of the ladder, what did you see and what did you feel when you were up there? They didn't leave a lot of net for you. I noticed that. It was just like a snippet.
I don't normally do it. I don't normally cut the net down when we've won championships and stuff. It's just kind of not my deal, but they said I had to do it. So nothing, just, you get a lot of shit from people on the other side, whether it's rivals or other people in your league or whatever, and that's their job, right? That is their job. They're your rivals. You go against them. And that's part of it. But, the one thing I appreciated, especially after last year, was the people that supported us from Purdue. And that was, to me, those are the people that are in your corner no matter what. And, I just appreciate the Purdue faithful that stayed confident that we could get the job done while I was still the head coach.
We'll move it over to the right side here in the second row. No, we got one in the front after that.
Ryan Bonaparte, Hammer and Rails. Matt, seemingly every night Zach is breaking a record or getting on a short list with legends, but now you start seeing Braden do that. So how nice is it to have him for the next game or two, as well as the next 2 seasons potentially?
Yeah, no question about it. Him evolving as one of the best point guards in the country, if not the best point guard in the country. Just his ability to pass and see things. He didn't get to it a lot tonight in terms of shooting his pull-up, but you guys that follow us have seen him in games, and especially people that play drop coverage. He can really get to that pull-up, whether that's a 3 or whether getting to that 15-footer. So I think that's the most important thing for him, is to stay consistent and keep looking for his shot. Keep being aggressive, because when they take his shot away from him, now he can instinctually make passes, whether that's a post-up or a skip or what have you. But no, he's very knowledgeable, very instinctive, makes good decisions. But, somebody that, you want the ball in his hands, and that's what we've really found out, that keeping the ball in his hands helps everybody, especially Zach, and now they got to deal with him and stop him, and then they got to deal with Zach coming into the post. And if they overdo anything, then we go back and go in, or we reverse it and go in, and then, we just try to keep playing. But he's been fabulous.
Last question, right side in the front row.
Larry Leitch from AP. Talked to Gene Cady just a little bit ago, and he said you're like a son. Is he like a dad, and what does it
Yeah.
mean to you to have him on this day in person?
Yeah, it's great. He obviously deserves to have this moment, right? He works so hard, and seeing him go into the Hall of Fame, is one of the coolest things that, I've seen in competitive sports for us here, at Purdue. But he always comes at the end of the year, then travels with us, and he's around, and and kind of what he recalls, from his coaching career and all the things and all the experiences that you had. And they won 3 Big Ten championships after I graduated, and so it's always something that you wanted to be a part of that. And he's always included me, and I've always included him. But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. So when you're 18 years old and you get recruited by somebody, you don't think 15 years later you're going to be the head coach and take his place, right? So to me, it was really surreal when I coached 1 year in college and they were interested in me. But I know he had a big part of it. I know he had a huge part of it, and I'm very grateful for that, and very grateful for all he's done for me and our players.
Thanks, Coach. We